My name is William Randolph Hearst. I'm sure you know the Hearst family quite well. I reinvented the newspaper world.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're breaking the types of entrepreneurs that have existed throughout human history, influencing it each step of the way. For this list, we're looking at how the fundamental traits of entrepreneurship, vision, risk-taking, persistence, and the ability to sell an idea have manifested over time in ways you might never have considered.
To have your whole music library with you at all times is a quantum leap in listening to music.
Number 10, the prophets.
This was one of the first religions to believe in a single omnipresent God. They believed their prophet, Zoroaster, was born of a virgin mother in what is now Afghanistan. Satan, heaven and hell were all Zoroastrian concepts, later embraced by Christianity and Islam.
Thousands of years ago, there were prophets standing on mountaintops trying to convince the masses to embrace their revolutionary vision for how humanity should live. These spiritual entrepreneurs identified fundamental problems in how societies functioned and created entirely new belief systems to address them.
Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Take Zoroaster, who around 600 BCE essentially disrupted the polytheistic market by introducing monotheism, influencing every major religion that followed.
در حالی که یعنی ما اصلا معاتش بزرگ را خورشید میدونیم. خورشید نوری از اهورامزدا است. ما اهورامزدا میگیم کل نوره. یکی از آفریده های اهورامزدا هست خورشید، با این هست که جهت نماز ما یعنی قبل ما خورشید است، نور هست، روشنایی هست.
Moses didn't just lead the Israelites out of Egypt. He created the world's first comprehensive legal and moral framework with the Ten Commandments, essentially building a startup civilization with revolutionary principles. These visionary leaders had no venture capital and no market research. Instead, they had pure conviction that their ideas would change the world.
Honor thy father and thy mother.
Number 9, the kings.
There, in the crack of the Persian line, we'll go for the head.
Kill Darius?
The gods have brought him to us at last. If I die, it's one Macedonian, but the Persians, they cannot move without Darius' command.
Long before anyone talked about scaling up, ambitious rulers were building kingdoms from nothing through sheer entrepreneurial will. Alexander the Great didn't inherit a world empire. He built one through strategic vision, calculated risk-taking, and an incredible ability to inspire loyalty in his subjects.
Look at those we've conquered. They leave their dead unburied. They smash their enemies' skulls and drink them as dust. They made him public. What can they think, or sing, or write when none can read? But as Alexander's army, they can go where they never thought possible.
Charlemagne essentially created the concept of medieval Europe by combining military conquest with administrative innovation, proving that successful entrepreneurs know when to fight and when to build systems.
Charlemagne had been successful. From that point on, he was allowed to style himself Rex Francorum et Langobardorum, King of the Franks and the Lombards. As a result, he controlled the whole of Western Europe, but he was still a far cry from peace.
Royal entrepreneurs understood that sustainable success required more than taking territory. They had to create lasting institutions, legal frameworks, and cultural identities. Like modern startup founders, they often died young, worked insane hours, and bet everything on their vision of what the world could become.
Saragossa will unabhängig werden. Der Statthalter wird mir die Stadttore öffnen. Und ich werde im Kampf den Sieg davontragen.
Number 8, the explorers.
Inconsistent maps made calculating routes difficult. Columbus finally charted a southwestern course he believed was short enough to keep him and his men from dying of starvation and thirst. Spain's Queen Isabella, eager to expand her empire, agreed to roll the dice on Columbus's route.
Christopher Columbus was history's most successful pitch deck presenter, convincing multiple royal courts to fund what everyone thought was a mission towards certain death to find a new route to Asia. These maritime entrepreneurs combined wanderlust with hardcore business acumen, understanding that geographic discovery meant economic opportunity. Look at Marco Polo, who opened up entirely new trade markets between East and West.
In Italy we have a saying, la vera dolcezza del vino è un gusto. The true sweetness of wine is one flavor.
Ernest Shackleton's failed Antarctic expedition became one of history's greatest leadership case studies, showing how true entrepreneurs turn disasters into legends. These adventurers risked everything on the ultimate unknown market, undiscovered lands that could contain unimaginable wealth or impending doom.
The British expedition plans to sail through the Weddell Sea to the Antarctic. Their goal is to be the first to achieve an overland crossing of the continent. Ernest Shackleton was already a famed explorer. He was a rival of Sir Robert Scott's in the race to reach the South Pole.
Number 7. The artists.
Michelangelo was a painter, sculptor, and architect. A scientist, iconoclast, and a genius. What we now refer to as a Renaissance man. One of his works would become the icon of an entire era.
Sure, you might be familiar with the Sistine Chapel ceiling, but what you might not know is that Michelangelo was running a Renaissance multimedia empire, negotiating contracts with popes and managing teams of apprentices like a modern creative agency.
You won't find a single artwork of the Renaissance that simply copies an ancient one. The crucial thing is that the Renaissance didn't just rediscover the critical spirit of the Greeks, for example. It didn't just grapple with the science and scholarship of antiquity. It developed everything further.
Leonardo da Vinci epitomized the entrepreneur-inventor hybrid, constantly pitching new ideas from flying machines to military engineering while funding his research through commissioned artwork.
The great names in art suddenly became world famous. 100 years earlier, it would have been unthinkable. The towering figures of Renaissance art, first and foremost Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, were feted, invited to court, and paid handsomely.
Pablo Picasso didn't accidentally stumble into Cubism, he deliberately disrupted the art market by creating a completely new visual language, then brilliantly marketed himself as the face of modern art. The artist reveals that artistic vision means nothing without the ability to find patrons, manage projects, and build personal brands that could sustain lifelong careers.
In the months of August and September 1957, Picasso created a series of 58 variations inspired by this absolute masterpiece painted by the Spanish artist Velázquez, which now hangs in the Prado Museum. Picasso consumed the world to produce Picassos. He represented himself here as a painter who's looking back at the old masters of the Spanish Golden Age.
Number 6. The inventors.
The things that Edison invented are so omnipresent in our society. They've touched the lives of millions and millions of people and totally changed them. We live in a world that Edison invented.
Incandescent light, sound recording, motion pictures.
All good ideas have to come from somewhere. Thomas Edison was the world's first innovation entrepreneur, creating the concept of the research and development lab while holding over 1,000 patents.
There were other great inventors. Then there was Edison. He understood that inventing is not just having an idea. And so he made Edison a name to be reckoned with.
The Wright brothers combined mechanical genius with business savvy, not only achieving powered flight but immediately recognizing the commercial potential and founding the Wright Company. Nikola Tesla represented the classic dilemma of the entrepreneur: brilliant innovation coupled with poor business skills, showing why technical genius alone isn't enough for commercial success. Forward-thinking inventors saw problems that others accepted as permanent limitations and dedicated their lives to creating solutions, often facing years of ridicule before achieving breakthrough moments that changed civilization.
The key is the motor rotates by virtue of induction, a rotating magnetic field. I've eliminated the commutator which distributes electricity to the rotor.
So you've eliminated the need for the commutator. Brushes the sparks. Amazing.
There are no sparks.
Sparks are bad.
They're just unnecessary.
Number 5. The scientists.
Some researchers were already talking about an evolution of the species, but the British naturalist was the first to explain with evidence how evolution might occur. By natural selection. His theory radically changed biology, offering a new explanation of the origin of human beings. It also made him one of the most influential scientists and intellectuals in history.
They were challenged, laughed at, and in some cases even ostracized, until they were proven right by history. Charles Darwin spent decades building the case for evolution, understanding that revolutionary scientific ideas require the same marketing and persuasion skills as any startup trying to disrupt an established market.
Darwin put human beings in the same evolutionary level as all the creatures on the planet. Scientific advances have confirmed his theory, and even the Catholic Church ended up accepting, decades later, that evolution is compatible with faith.
Marie Curie broke through multiple barriers, scientific, institutional, and gender-based, to build a research empire that won her 2 Nobel Prizes in different fields.
So imagine a grape crushes itself, ferments itself, changes its very being. And what if I told you that as the grape turns itself into wine, it releases a powerful surge of energy, power that can make things happen?
Galileo faced the ultimate hostile takeover attempt when the Catholic Church tried to shut down his heliocentric model, but his scientific entrepreneurship eventually won out over institutional resistance. These game changers promoted theories that challenged conventional wisdom, knowing that paradigm shifts require both brilliant insights and relentless advocacy.
You'd be excited, am I right?
I think so, yes, I would.
So science is changing, and the very people who are running science are the people who believe the world was flat. And I'm going to prove them wrong, just as Newton did.
Number 4, the business people.
With their money, the Medici turned Florence into one of the most beautiful cities in the world. They were the first great modern art collectors. But their relationship with art was anything but straightforward. All kinds of complicated emotions were involved. Guilt, the lust for power.
The capital that brings history's greatest art to life has to come from somewhere. The Medici family created the Renaissance by strategically investing in art, architecture, and human capital across multiple generations, essentially becoming history's most successful venture capitalists.
The Medici weren't just great patrons, they created a culture that revolutionized the nature of art itself. The neat and tidy columns of their bookkeeping were reflected everywhere in the art and architecture of Florence. Theirs was a world where calculation was all.
Cornelius Vanderbilt built his railroad empire through ruthless competition and strategic vision, understanding that transportation infrastructure was the key to unlocking America's economic potential.
Vanderbilt was so successful that sometimes people think he planned everything in advance. In fact, one of his great strengths was his ability to seize upon opportunities that appeared unexpectedly and make the most of them.
John D. Rockefeller pioneered vertical integration and aggressive market consolidation, creating business strategies that modern entrepreneurs still study and emulate. So what do we have to learn from their business school? That traditional business success requires the same visionary thinking and calculated risk-taking that drives any revolutionary movement, focused on profit rather than social change.
The most powerful of all, oil tycoon John D. Rockefeller, the world's first billionaire. His company, Standard Oil, savages and then swallows up its competitors and ends up controlling 90% of the American oil industry.
Number 3, the media barons.
I reinvented the newspaper world. My philosophy is that there is an opportunity in every obstacle. Conflict is a good thing because it makes someone think on their feet. It's like a chess game in that sense. I think what it takes to be a genius is you have to see beyond the present situation. You have to make the connections.
Control the flow of information and you control everything. William Randolph Hearst didn't simply own newspapers. He created the template for media empires by understanding that influencing public opinion and even political outcomes.
I invented a new form of journalism, one that just didn't wait around for the world to happen. There's a story, there's a human story in every story that I think is the real element of a great story. If I didn't invent that, I cleared out all the other stuff and got to the heart of what a real story is about.
Rupert Murdoch built a global media conglomerate by recognizing that news is both product and platform, creating synergies between traditional journalism and entertainment that redefine the industry.
Mr. Murdoch, what's the size of your holding in the News of the World now, and what will it be eventually?
Right now it's only 3.5%, but eventually it'll be approximately 40% of the voting shares.
That'll make you the largest single shareholder, will it, and give you effective control?
Wouldn't give us complete control by any means. It will be the largest shareholding.
Towering figures like Hearst and Murdoch understood something that modern social media moguls are just rediscovering. That content creation, distribution, and audience engagement are all part of the same entrepreneurial equation. They built massive fortunes by recognizing that information itself could be packaged, marketed, and sold like any other commodity, fundamentally changing how societies communicate and make decisions.
Mr. Murdoch, IPC announced last July that the Sun and its predecessor, the Herald, had lost £12 million in over 8 years. How, in effect, would you change the newspaper and its format to make it pay?
Well, we'll change it in several ways, but we're not going to disclose exactly what our plans are at the moment. But it'll be a straightforward, honest newspaper.
Number 2, the technologists.
His printing machine was the most revolutionary advance in technology since the invention of the wheel. And we're still living with its consequences today, as you can see here in the basement of the British Library, where they hold a copy of every book published in English.
Johann Gutenberg's printing press was a disruptive technology platform that democratized knowledge and essentially created the information age 500 years before the internet. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak combined technical genius with design thinking and marketing savvy to create Apple, proving that successful technology entrepreneurship requires both engineering excellence and deep understanding of human needs.
What if somebody built a device that could take advantage of knowing all about those iApps and get a level of integration that no one's ever achieved before? And we decided to do it. And the field that we decided to do it in, the choice we made was music.
Bill Gates showed how software could become more valuable than hardware, building Microsoft by recognizing that intellectual property and scalable systems would dominate the digital economy. These technological entrepreneurs understood that breakthrough innovations mean nothing without the ability to manufacture, distribute, and convince people to adopt new ways of working and living.
It was the invention of the printing press which started all this, making mass production of books possible for the first time in history. Within a few years, there were millions of them in circulation. And as they traveled, they carried their precious cargo of new ideas or theories, philosophy or propaganda to every part of Europe and beyond.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, the storytellers.
There were a lot of competing poems about the Trojan War, but Homer's were by far the most famous, and they are now the most famous because they were also the only ones to survive the burning of the library at Alexandria. So the Iliad and the Odyssey are epic poems, and we define an epic as a long narrative poem on a serious subject written in a grand or elevated style centered on a larger-than-life hero.
It could be argued that storytellers are the ultimate entrepreneurs, whose products reshape how entire civilizations see themselves and their possibilities. Homer created the entire Western literary tradition with the Iliad and Odyssey, essentially building the world's first multimedia franchise that has been generating content, adaptations, and derivative works for over 2,500 years.
So Odysseus is a trickster and a liar and a pirate and a serial adulterer, and he's responsible for the death of a lot of people, and he also has probably the worst sense of direction in all of Greek literature. But is he a hero? Yes. To the Greeks, heroism didn't mean perfection. It meant that you had an extraordinary attribute or ability, and Odysseus definitely does.
Walt Disney built an entertainment empire by understanding that stories could be packaged across multiple platforms, creating the modern concept of intellectual property licensing. William Shakespeare demonstrated that artistic integrity and commercial success aren't mutually exclusive when you truly understand your market. Homer, Disney, Shakespeare, and more realized something crucial. Humans are driven by stories, and whoever controls the stories controls culture itself.
There would have been a time for such a word. Tomorrow. And tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time.
Think we missed any game-changing entrepreneur types? Let us know in the comments below.
Pulitzer, I think, will be remembered as a good newspaper guy. A good businessman who ran successful papers for a while. But in that sense, he will be a footnote in the world of journalism.